Hey fly tires, welcome back. Or, if this is the first time you're here, judging by a lot of my metrics, it's quite likely that this is your first time here. Thanks for stopping by. My name is Matt, and I like to tie flies. Tonight, I've got a really cool pattern I'm going to be walking through. It's from Charlie Craven's Tying Nymphs book. It's called the Hot Wire Prince. This is a really fun one to tie. I think you're going to enjoy it. It's not terribly complicated. I think if you've been tying for any amount of time at all, you can easily knock this one out. Even if you're a brand new novice, it's not going to take too much practice to get this one right. So anyway, I think you're going to enjoy it. Stick around. As always, I will explain the materials as I go and put the recipe in the description. So let's get started with a size 12 standard nymph hook, 1x long, barbless, and a 2.8 millimeter tungsten bead. I'm going to lay down about 8 or 10 wraps of 0.020 weight. Now when you get that jammed up in there, you want to take your black thread. I'm using UTC 70 denier. You'll build a dam behind the weight, get some locking wraps above the weight, then build a taper down to the bend of the hook where we will tie in the tail. Okay, when you're happy enough with your taper, go ahead and grab some brown goose biots. Take a couple of these off the end. Now you will want to flip these around, concave sides together, so that they splay out. Of course, they're very slippery. Makes it a lot more fun if you drop them 3 or 4 times. Okay, you can see those. It's hard to tell right there, but I've got the concave sides out. Now I'm going to lay them on either side of the hook. Well, let's take this thread back a little farther there. So lay these on either side of the hook. Get your length right. Pretty stubby tail on this, kind of like a Prince Nymph or a Copper John. So I'm going to do 2 pretty loose wraps and then position them before I really lock them in. So they'll spin on you, and they're not the easiest things to do. If you need to, tie them in one at a time. I do that quite often. So I've got 2 wraps right there. Let's take a look at it on the top. They're going about where I like them, so I'm good with that. We'll go ahead and catch this in. Might be a little bit toward the front there. So I'm going to go ahead and secure this, and you can use the front parts of these biots to help you smooth out the taper on this body here. Take it back up to about the weight. I'm going to snip off these butt ends. Let's make sure we don't have any bumps right there, because it will show when we wrap this wire if you have any bumps at all. So here comes the cool part. Get 2 strands of contrasting color UTC ultra wire, and per Charlie's instructions, use 2 different sizes. The bigger size, I've got the gold here is in a medium and the green is in a brassy. So the bigger size will end up being the predominant color. So pick whatever colors you want, and whichever one you want to be the predominant. Go up here about a little past the halfway point, catch it in, then lay it flat. You might want to pull it back just a little, and we will secure this on the near side of the hook, parallel to the hook. Don't let the wires get crossed on you. And when we get back here toward the tail, we'll want to put the wraps pretty tight, because this stuff is thick and we're going to be yanking on it pretty hard when we start our wraps. So go back up here. Now's the time. If you don't have the taper exactly like you want it, then maybe build just a little bit up on it. Okay. Now, to wrap these, just see which one you want forward and then which one you want behind based on how they're laying. I think my gold is going to be forward here, and then my green is going to be behind it. And the key here will be, don't let them cross over after you get them started. And you want to wrap tight wraps right next to each other. Try to avoid any black showing underneath. It will look better if you can get these right next to each other all the way up. Okay, that's not too lumpy, so let's go ahead and secure this in. Now this is pretty thin thread and pretty thick wire, so it's going to take several wraps to really get this locked in. And you can try and spin these off. I've found that it's been just a little bit easier to cut them. So take your scissors, your dull scissors, and go way back up in there. And then you might need to press it flat. You're going to have some sharp ends right there if you're not careful. So just press it flat with the flat part of your scissors. See those right there? And then I'm putting some loose wraps right here to just try and bury those a little bit right there. I've broken my thread a couple of times on these earlier tonight. So take your thread back just to the first couple of wraps of that body. Now get your peacock herl. 4 strands of this. Let's snip off the first couple of inches of the real brittle stuff. And let's get this caught in right here. See, that peacock herl, if you do it right, can help bury some of those sharp ends from the wire. So you want to take it back a couple of wraps. Let's see, that's about how much of the thorax I want. So take my thread back up to the front where I'm going to catch this in. Now I don't spin this as a rope. I just kind of lay these herls beside each other so that I'm not necessarily going to mat them down as I wrap it. It's going to take 3 or 4 wraps. Will usually look pretty good here. So I think that looks fine right there. So let's go ahead and catch this herl in up here and snip off the excess. Couple more locking wraps. Now for the hackle on this, it's brown hen neck feathers. So you'll want to, I've already prepared this feather, but you'll want to start it at about what length you want. And you want it to come you want these fibers to come just past the point of the hook. So this is the size I want. I've given it a little haircut right there to give me the tie-in points. So let's get that caught in right there. Now I'm going to fold that little piece back over on itself to just really lock it in. Now this isn't a real long feather, so I am going to use my hackle pliers here. Probably not a bad idea anyway. So try to pull these back right there, and we're going to get about 2 full wraps. There's 1 full one, and here comes my second one from a tie-in point right here. So I'm going to zigzag that through there. Try not to trap too many of them. Okay, we've got 2 securing wraps. I'm going to go ahead and clip this excess off. It's a little messy right now, but we'll get that cleaned up here shortly. So just pull these back here. Now there's a tight wrap, 2 tight wraps just to really get that end secured. Now I'm doing a couple of medium wraps. I don't want this hackle to splay out on me. I want it to lay kind of down. So I think that will work right there. Now we can do some tighter wraps here. I'm going to build a little bit of a base, and I'll tell you why in just a second. So I'm building this up kind of on purpose right here. You don't want those little feathers right there, or those fibers sticking forward, so let me catch those in. Okay. Okay, because we've got the white biots to go on the top still. And if I didn't build that little bit of a base, they might end up sticking too far up. So I've raised that base so that they can lay flat. Now, the good part about these biots, Charlie gives us permission to just lay these on here. You don't have to. I think he liked them with them curved up, but not concave sides together. So we're just going to do a little 45-degree angle, cross them over each other. He says go for a 45-degree angle, and that 42 degrees you're really only going to catch the small fish. So it's pretty important, I think, to get, get that 45. Is that 45? I don't know. I don't have my protractor and compass out with me. So I'm going to hold these on here kind of loose while I get that first wrap in there. And then let's see. My second wrap, before I lock them in, I'm going to position them. Look at those. Is that where I want? Boy, I certainly lost that 45-degree angle there. So let's see if I can get that thing back. Okay, I think that's close. That might be 40, but take a look at that. That looks okay. Now, I'm going to lock it in. I've got 2 wraps on it right now, I think. I'm going to put one under it and then one over it. That's going to lock it. Now, you'll want your finest pointed scissors to get in here and snip these biots as close as you can. Use the bead of the hook to kind of lay them down on it. Now, that's not terribly short, but it's enough that I should be able to lock it in and bury that in the head. So, don't want to overdo it. The fewer wraps you can do right here, probably the better. So that I've still got room now for 2 whip finishes. I don't use head cement on these. I've been doing 2 whip finishes. So a couple of 3 or 4 turns if you've got the room on the head. And we'll take a look and see if we need to do any cleanup. Sometimes you do. Just snip your thread off right there. It's not too much cleanup to do. That head looks okay. There's a few stray fibers right there. But there you have it, folks. The hot wire Prince. Pretty fun pattern to tie. Can be super effective. Easy to fly. Thing sinks like easy to fish. The thing sinks like a bullet. It's a great Euro nymph pattern or any kind of all-purpose nymph pattern. So there you have it, folks. I appreciate you watching, and we'll see you next time.